George Morgan.
Hello everyone.
I holler what you do, what you say. I shall enjoy the fruits of my labor if I get free today. But loud, I holler what you do, what you say. I shall enjoy the fruits of my labor if I get free today. And wise, I holler what you do, what you say. I shall enjoy the fruits of my labor if I get free today. Thundercat, I holler what you do, what you say. I shall enjoy the fruits of my labor if I get free today. What the black man say? Tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, we multiply. Tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, we multiply. Tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, we multiply. Tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, we multiply. So I met this young lady, you know, when I went back home. I was trying to spit my best game to her, you know, give her my best cap, but she kept on snapping her fingers like. I said, you know what, girl? You crazy. Then she asked me what he said. A peace of mind, that's what the Asian said. I needed divine intervention was his religion, and now it's surprise. Him believing in Buddha, me believing in God. Asked me what am I doing, he said taking my time. Meditation is a must, it don't hurt if you try. See, you're thinking too much, plus you're too full of yourself. Worried about your career, ever think of your health? What did the Indians say? A piece of land, that's what the Indian said. I needed the man, telling me longevity's in the dirt. Buy some property first, profit a better dollar with generational perks. Equity at its best, really you should invest. These tangible things expire, don't you expect income with so much outcome? And yes, look at my heritage, we blessed. So what the black man say? A piece of nookie, that's what the black man said. I needed to push man to the limit, satisfy my hunger, do it all for a woman. Head cut to a war, we like to live in the jungle, like to play in the beach. What you saying to me? He said, homie, come back to reality for a week. Nookie is power, cut on a new chick every night. I wouldn't be prouder, you should allow it. What the white man say? A piece of minds, that's what the white man wanted when I rhyme. Telling me that he's selling me just for $10.99. I go platinum for rapping, I do the company fine. What if I compromise? He said it don't even matter. Make $1 million or more, you're living better than average. You're losing your core, following, gaining it all. Put a price on my talent, I hit the bank and withdraw. Hit the bank and withdraw, hit the bank and withdraw. Put myself in a rocket ship and I shot for the stars. Tell me what you accomplished and what he said to the bar. I'ma make you some promises that you just can't ignore. Your profession anonymous as an artist. I don't talk at your monkey, you ain't signing your signature when I throw you my wallet. Lot of rappers are giving up demo all in the toilet. War tour, your master's mortgage, I need you. George Morgan. I holler what you do, what you say. I shall enjoy the fruits of my labor if I get free today. But loud, I holler what you do, what you say. I shall enjoy the fruits of my labor if I get free today. And wise, I holler what you do, what you say. I shall enjoy the fruits of my labor if I get free today. Thundercat, I holler what you do, what you say. I shall enjoy the fruits of my labor if I get free today. What the black man say? Tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, we multiply. Tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, we multiply. Tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, we multiply. Tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, tell him we don't die, we multiply.
Hello everyone, hello. Can we all hear me? Yeah, great, great. So I'm going to start off first. Hi everyone, my name's George Morgan. I'm going to start off with some housekeeping rules just before we kind of get started and into the actual meat of the conversation. So I wanted to just firstly say this will be recorded. So if you want to leave the camera on, that would be great. If you want to turn it off, that's absolutely fine. However, we'd still love to engage with you. We'd still love to see everyone's lovely smiles and everyone engaging with what David's going to say. Also want to say that to please keep your microphone muted until the Q&A. Me and David, and we really want to keep this as interactive as possible, but just to kind of make sure that no white noise comes out, just to keep it on the mute. And as soon as the Q&A section arises, we would love to have questions. So please do light up the chat, put any questions you have there so I can ask David that. If you, like me, get the Zoom sweats and you don't want to like unmute your mic and ask questions, I'm more than happy to ask it to David for you. And that's all the kind of housekeeping rules we've got so far. So again, I just want to welcome all of you. I'm George Morgan. I'm part of the Young Changemakers at the Queen's Theatre, and I could see a lot of them here today. We've got Ollie, we've got Esther, we've got Heather here. So just give us a wave so everyone knows who you are. And we've also got 3 great human beings who have really kind of led us, taught us a lot, and that's Miranda, James, and Laura. So and they're also there too. So yeah, so that's to shout everyone out. And our mission, just to kind of give you a bit of context about this, our mission as Young Changemakers, we want to increase theatre engagement with people between the ages of 18 and 25. We all know that there tends to be a drop-off point at that. And since late last year, we came together and we've been doing some amazing projects. And one of this, being I Am Here, where we have the opportunity to invite great artists to come in and talk about really important issues. Last week was Class, and it was, if you were there, it was a fantastic session. Learned a lot and took a lot from it. Obviously today's Race, and the coming weeks would be Sexuality and Gender, and no, we'll plug that in right at the end. So I think for me, I kind of want to say why I feel like, why it's important and why I wanted to, talk to David. And it really started from the Outer Limits event, which was led by Danielle, who's actually here. Who's actually here. Hey, Danielle. It was such a beautiful, compelling session, which was not only therapeutic, but I think everyone who attended could kind of say they left different, they left changed, they left wanting to, to add to that conversation. And as part of the group, part of the Young Changemakers, we were all affected. We wanted to continue that dialogue on. And I think for this session, bringing David in, we really want to look at that, we want to look at that internal aspect to it. We want to look at it from a philosophical point of view. David will be, talking more about it in his talk, but I'm so excited to see you all here, so excited to, get further into it. So I think that's all I actually have to say. I know I'm kind of going on. I'm going to actually talk about how we met, how me and David met. And it's this funny story where we were actually part of the same WhatsApp group for 2 years, right? And we never knew of each other. That he would send a message in. It was like this group of 14 people. He would send a message in here. I'd send a message in here, but our paths never connected. So I'd see his name pop around. And it was only until a couple of months ago where we were both part of this Emerging Black Director Zoom course, which was on Zoom, led by Talua Theatre Company. And, we started chatting through that. And as soon as, that dialogue opened up, I really felt like a friendship kind of, manifested. And I'm really excited to have David here. He's, extremely intelligent, and I really do feel like, if you're here, you will learn something, you will be challenged, right? And it will I want to kind of state that I really hope this is a continuous piece of a multifaceted set of dialogue happening, because this is an ongoing thing, and I really want this to continue. I really want this to go on. I don't want this to, you know, stop and exist in this space. So that's all from me, and I just want to hand over to David. And like I said, please do light up the chat with any questions you have. Do send it privately to me if you know you want me to ask it. Okay, David, are you ready?
Yes, ready, George.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, a pleasure to meet George through a very, very unusual way, through WhatsApp, and then on the course, one knowing and one not knowing that we were sort of aligning to this day, basically, where we are here together in collaboration. It was actually an honor to be offered to hold space and speak on race. So we'll get into that in a second. Just want to say, it's really great that these talks are happening, and I hope that whatever we share today, and also, like, I think today, as much as possible for everyone, you know, after the talk to ask questions. And I guess it's not necessarily about trying to find out a nugget of sort, but, you know, we're all here, we're creative beings, you know, something can happen, something magical can happen by questions and discussions. So let's grow together today, and we'd love to see your comments. And if there's anything that in the middle of the talk you're like, oh, cool, interested, put that in there. You know, let's make it responsive and receptive. Cool, brilliant. Let me get myself sorted, guys. Just stand up here. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Here we go. Cool. So for today, the title of the talk is "The Struggle Isn't an Event; It's a Continual, Eternal Process." But yeah, before I even jump into it, just a couple of disclosures. First of all, you know, race. When we're talking about race, like, wow, that's like, when George told me about it, I was like, yeah, that sounds sick. But when I sat down, I was like, oh, wait a second, that's a big topic. You know, I only come to it not as someone that is a expert or anything on race, but just through my own, like, research into, like, you know, my own heritage, and obviously experience in relationship to being a human being, but also, like, working in the arts. So just a little bio, like, I started working in the arts, you know, through youth theatre, and I wanted to go and train, but my family, we were illegal in the country. So my uni situation was a bit peak. So my teacher was like, listen, anyway, like, why don't you go and just take a gap year and actually find out for yourself what theatre is like in the actual industry. And since that time, you know, 2008 till now, haven't sort of looked back. I took a gap year, met people, and then slowly through mentors and stuff, I've managed to sort of build up, like, a sense of confidence about what I'm doing in the arts, as a human being and as an artist as well. But yeah, that's a little bio there about myself. Everything I share today is my own ideas, my own thoughts, my own research, the way I see things. But also, like, to say that I'm also just learning as well. There's nothing I know for sure, or, like, to be 100% sure. Do you know what I mean? So I'm also learning. Okay, so I hope to take the position of someone who's not saying, you know, this is the correct thing, but someone who is also observing, just as you are observing me, and we're sharing sharing this moment together. So race, big topic, massive topic. All I can say is, obviously, you look at me, I am a black man, but actually my great granddad is a European from Greece, who's a white European from Greece on my dad's side. So automatically you're like thinking about race, and it is so complex. It's so complex. And what I would love today is just like creating a sort of feeling where we check our assumptions, we check our unconscious biases, we check the things that we kind of just tick as, yes, I know this, and actually step back and question it and go, wait a second, I thought I knew this, but do I really know this? And so, yeah, it's a very complex thing. And today, obviously, the talk is what's it like getting into the arts? What is it like getting into the arts, and what does it mean for people who are of the ages of 18 to 25? Obviously, the biggest issue is like, damn, is the industry for me? Can I actually survive? Very, very basic questions. So I hope that today, we all share this kind of collective mind of like, what are the ways that we can support those who come to us for advice, or ourselves, to stay in the industry as well. So yeah, that's a little disclosure. Yeah, here we go. So it's called The Struggle Isn't an Event, It's a Continual, Eternal Process. Kwame True is a American political activist who, just for me, just was talking about the issue of race in a really dynamic way that wasn't necessarily just, there's good and evil, if that makes sense. It wasn't sort of binary. It was kind of a really interesting perspective. So, I like to make the metaphor. He was like kind of on the tightrope. He sort of was able to challenge the system, but also challenge himself and challenge those who may be sort of on his side as well. So I just want to show us a little video from Kwame True to set the tone of the rest of the talk.
Say that we must come to know the difference between mobilization and organization, because the enemy will use mobilization to demobilize us. Mobilization is very easy, very, very. But just because they're unconscious, you shouldn't think they don't want freedom.
Is that good?
As a matter of fact, sometimes the organization, but he was organized. We say that we must come to know the difference between mobilization and organization, because the enemy will use mobilization to demobilize us. Mobilization is very easy, very, very easy. Because since we're people who are instinctively ready to respond against acts of injustice, anytime there's one little act of injustice, we can blow it up, and we'll find people who come and make some mass demonstration around it. Miss Sally lost her job. Let's rally. She'll get her job back. People will come and rally. Mobilize us. Mobilization is very easy, very, very easy. Because since we're people who are instinctively ready to respond against acts of injustice, anytime there's one little act of injustice, we can blow it up, and we'll find people who come and make some mass demonstration around it. Miss Sally lost her job. Let's rally. She'll get her job back. People will come and rally. So-and-so got kicked out of school because the teacher's unjust. The unjust. The people will come and rally. They will come to rally at issues. And this is what mobilization does. It mobilizes people around issues. Those of us who are revolutionary are not concerned with issues. We're concerned with the system. The difference must be properly understood. The difference must be properly understood. Mobilization usually leads to reform action, not to revolutionary action. If we would look scientifically at the October 16th million and more march, we would see clearly that this was a mobilized event, not an organized event. We must know clearly the difference between mobilization and organization. One of the characteristics of mobilization is that it is temporary. Organization is permanent and eternal. Clear differences must be made because the unconscious can usually be captured easily around one-issue items, around mobilization items, but it's hard to catch them around organization. But these unconscious must be brought to organization. We must transform mobilization to organization. We say the enemy will come and use mobilization to demobilize us. Many brothers and sisters who've been to the Million and More March will say to you, I was there. Well, what are you doing today, my sister? I was there. There weren't too many sisters out there, but you know, with 1 million brothers together, you know where I had to be. I was there. Yes. And then, of course, you find brothers, yeah, I was there. I helped you. What are you doing today, brother? If we're not careful, we allow mobilization to become events. The struggle is never an event. It's a process, a continual, eternal process.
The struggle isn't an event. It's a continual, eternal process. I love what he's saying there. What does it mean? The struggle is a continual, is eternal process. It's not an event. And what I love about Kwame True there is that he's made a difference between issues and the system. And today, and in your walk in terms of dealing with race, like, I want you to take this away. There's issues that you can jump on, but there's a system, like, and there's a difference between those two things. And I love what Kwame is saying here. I really want to talk about this subject from a place that doesn't create a sort of a feeling of victimhood. And I want us to be on a tightrope with it. I want us to be on a tightrope with it, or on the fence with it. So we can see the negative and what is impacting us and the barriers, but also, is there a positive? Is there a positive as well? Is there a way to look at it upside down, or in a way that doesn't just cage me in or keep me in a victim mentality? And I love what he's saying, because it sounds inspirational. Like, the struggle isn't an event, it's a continual process, eternal process. But yeah, let's look at this a bit. Let's look carefully at this. Eternal. So eternal, lasting, and existing forever, without end. My days. So, you know, we come to a talk and we're like, okay, it's about race. It's eternal. Like, it's lasting, it's existing forever, without end. So let's just get the facts there. Okay. Process. A series of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular end. Brilliant. Struggle. Strive to achieve or attain something in the face of difficulty or resistance. I find so much inspiration from this quote. I find so much inspiration from this quote, and I hope that as we explore what comes up in the talk today, we can be constantly thinking about Kwame True's statement here. We're going to start off with struggle. Okay, so yeah, there's many struggles. When we're talking about race, man, like, where'd you go in terms of that? Something that pops up right to me just from the beginning is parental. Yeah, misunderstanding, you know, telling my parents like, I actually want to do acting for a career. And they're like, no, that's not a job. Like, you can't, how are you going to get money from that? You know, and not getting the parental support to actually get confidence. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's already a struggle, a parental struggle. Also, on a parental sense as well, it's like, when coming into the industry, one of the first conversations I had as someone who was being paid to work in the industry of theatre, a question I was asked was, what strengths do you have, David? Can you tell me about your strengths? Like what do you have that's gonna put you above everyone else, or above the competition. Like, what can you use to your advantage? And I was kind of like, like I'm not understanding like what you're kind of trying to get me to think about. And I think, remember, let's always stay on the tightrope. He was like, you're black. Like, you're black. You can use that. So I was like, wow, okay. Yeah. All right. Interesting. And this is on a parental level. This is someone that is, I look up to. This is someone that has the potential to hire me. This is the sort of information that I'm getting at that level. Obviously, this is specific to myself, but I'm sure many have experienced something similar or not experienced this at all. But we're on the tightrope, so we're just trying to work out what is the struggle. What is that struggle when we're talking about race? What you're seeing here is a few pictures here. So this is many years into being a director, being someone that is in the arts. I'm in Zimbabwe. I left that country in 1999, so I'm here. I'm back in 2019 doing a production, which is talking about Christianity and colonialism, and how those two things kind of were bedfellows in creating power and oppression for Zimbabweans and taking over the land and using it for the benefit of the Western world. Specifically for Zimbabweans, it was Britain, where I am now. And obviously, I'm going back to create this play to talk about that. And here you can see there's a quote it's an African proverb. I'll just read it out. It says, "If there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm." That's right. I think George is blocking. Yeah, it's do. If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. Okay. And here, I really take a lot of power from this, because it puts the onus on me, the responsibility on me. How am I looking after myself within? And how do I relate to the struggles that may come against me? I remember, obviously, speaking to an artistic director saying, "Yo, I want to direct." I had the confidence to sort of write to them. I was really scared. "Oh, I want to direct. I see you guys are making this kind of work. I'm really interested in Zimbabwean culture. If I can get a meet down, a sit down with you, I would really appreciate that." And then she sent back an email saying, "David, really great to hear from you. Don't limit yourself to just telling stories about Zimbabwe." I was like, whoa, okay. Oh, wow, all right. I didn't see that. Now, the only reason, or one of the main reasons that I got an opportunity to go to Zimbabwe, because I would always put this at the front of my CV, at the front of when I met people in the industry. I'm Zimbabwean. I'm really passionate about telling stories. I'm really passionate about my culture and promoting that in my work. And it was, through really making that a thing that of who I am, that I even got an opportunity to get this job. I got an email saying, "Dave, we're going to Zimbabwe to do a project. You're the perfect person to do this." Now, had I taken that artistic director's kind of lean to say, you might want to hush down a little bit about, you being Zimbabwean, that's the work you want to make. Essentially don't box yourself in. But on another level, I'm seeing that me stepping out and speaking confidently about, my heritage, where I'm from, has also put me in a position where people go, "Oh yes, we need to call David for this job. He'll be perfect for it." So it's you're kind of like, oh, yeah, this is an interesting tension I'm dealing with here. But this enemy that we're saying is potentially within. It's not just me. It's everyone. And I've put two people here that were part of this project. I'm going to start off with Naomi to the left, to the far left. So we took this project to Zimbabwe. We took 6 young people from England and 6 young people from Zim. We flew over there, and we were going to make this play in 2 weeks. And a lot of the Zimbabwean artists, we were like, "Yeah, we're doing this thing. Please come down, support us." We had a meeting with Zimbabwean artists, writers, directors, makers, and they approached Naomi not in an aggressive way, but they were like, "Wait a second, Like, what gives you the right, you know, someone who's from Britain to come and write a play about our culture? You know, like, and a fair question, like, fair enough. And Naomi had to she had to grapple with that, like, yo, like, what does give me the right to come here across the world to talk about, you know, a culture that is not directly connected to me? And Naomi had to kind of work her way into that provocation. And you know, from our reflections, she said, you know what, you know, I for her it was a case of, you know, she's not Zimbabwean, and she has to be upfront about that. You know, I am not Zimbabwean, but the life that I've lived and the experience that I've had, I connect to this story, and I wouldn't do anything but try to hold true to the story as much as possible and tell the truth, and speak my truth as well in relationship to that, but also you know, come fully with that presence of mind that I'm not Zimbabwean, but I too care about this. I too care about this country and what's happened to it, and I can relate to it in my own way, being Caribbean and not having my own heritage because of my ancestry, and how you guys have been ripped from your ancestry. You know, and she really had to back herself in that moment. Someone who, you know what I mean, you know, on the front, you know, this is a black person. So then again, in that way, you know, making sure there's no enemy within, because at that point you crumble. So coming to the lady in the middle, her name is Poppy. So Poppy was one of the actors we chose from London, and it was specific. We really wanted someone who wasn't also from like a directly Black or Caribbean heritage to be a part of the cast, to have that voice in there. And what was so fascinating, obviously we were all gassed. We were like, what, we're going to Zim, this is cool. We got on the plane, got there, first rehearsal, second rehearsal, and I noticed Poppy's hands started to do this through the process. She started to really tense up. Obviously, we're talking about Christianity. We're talking about how Britain came in and did all of this badness to the land and to the culture. And you know, people had to give up their spiritual practices to take on Christianity. And you know, we're sort of essentially just telling the raw facts of what, you know, Britain have done. You know, these are her ancestors, and she's going, oh shit, like, whoa, this is intense for me. You know, I'm the only white person here. You know, and it was amazing to see, and it felt really important for us to have someone who was not from African and Caribbean background, and it was amazing to see how, you know, she was able to handle that provocation. And actually, here is like literally the last performance of the production, and she really came into her own and understood that, yeah, like, you know, there's things that she has to understand about where she's from and who she's connected to, but we're all part of this journey together. It's not us versus them. We're in this together. Yeah, it's a struggle together forever. And that was her own process. But again, like, she was able to really open up to her defensiveness about the fact that she was literally the only white person there. But come out of her shell, take that step forward and go, yeah, like, I can see that, you know, this is really bad what's happened to you, but I'm here and I want to be here and I want to tell the story. And it was just a beautiful transition. It didn't start off comfortable, but it ended up in a wonderful company of just sharing everyone's perspective. And then we got the London kids sharing the music from London and the Zim kids sharing the music from Zim. But I really come back to this point about not having an enemy within, and there's no way we have to search that ourselves and get to an understanding of, if there is one, how do we combat it? So the struggles are there, but I really feel this African proverb can help us to really battle with this. You know, how do we get rid of the enemy within? Because I think when we look at race, that's a big thing, man. And what can we do to change the system? You know, as Kwame True talks about, my provocation is inside. Get the enemy within out. So yeah, I love this African proverb, and everything is tied to getting to the root of things and having agency in that. Cool, I'm gonna move on. And here is just a picture of us in the production, and when we were in Zimbabwe, and it was just, you know, for me it was just like, do you know what? I'm so glad that I did put my foot first and was like, you know, this is the story I want to tell. You know, I want to talk about Zimbabwe and all of that. So I'm glad that actually I didn't listen to my parents when they were like, listen, that's not a career choice. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm glad I didn't take that as final. I'm glad I didn't take what that AD said to me as final, as you know, why don't just be wanting to tell the Zimbabwean stories. I'm glad that, you know, I was able to kind of reconcile that in my own way and sort of build up the confidence. This is all stuff that I'm still battling with. But yeah, just coming back to that, you know, if there's no enemy within, there can be no enemy without. 2. Okay, yes. So we're on the tightrope again here, guys. And I'm just sharing these experiences because obviously we all got our projects, we all got our path to take. And I hope that whatever drops into your mind, into your space, into your spirit, your soul, whatever, that you can use it along your journey. And if that's you working with someone that you maybe at first don't understand, I think these are some of the principles that come from Africa that can help us to navigate the time we're in. So here we got the African proverb: the beginning of wisdom is the knowledge of self. Okay, so I've said there can't be an enemy within to approach the question, the struggles of race. Okay, but how do I get the enemy outside? How do I take the enemy within out and become able to accept what is around me? We go to this one here, wisdom of the knowledge of self. Okay, and I've put 2 things here. So on the left-hand side is a play reading I did with a friend of mine who's Jewish, yeah, to try and kick off the project, we did a reading. We did a few readings, but the first reading, I invited all the people that I knew, that were like, you know, mentors or people that I when I was a young person acting, they brought me in to do workshops with them. And I invited, you know, these people to the reading. And then at the end of the reading, so this play is looking at 2 girls who are exploring, one who is very like, you know, I've got a boyfriend, and the other who is like, listen, we've got a connection, what's up? So it's exploring, you know, this sort of tension between two girls. And yeah, so we do this play, we share the reading, and a mentor figure who's in the building comes up to me and is like, oh, David, I don't think this is the kind of, you know, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't think this is the kind of story, you know, that you should be telling, like, you know, yeah, you know, I don't know if this is the kind of story you should be telling. So I was like, wait, snap, like, obviously this is my friend, we connect artistically, I connect as a millennial to this story about what, you know, what does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to feel myself and be in the world? So I connect to it on a universal scale. Why isn't it something that I should be directing or being a part of as someone who wants to contribute to storytelling? And, you know, so this is when I was like, damn, am I missing it here? Am I missing something about what I should be doing, where my success is? And, you know, thinking back to what the director said, it was like, you're black, use that. So the other picture to the right-hand side here is a play called Breakfast with Mugabe, which is about literally Mugabe, the president, who's passed away now. And I was doing a directing course around the time that I'd finished doing this play to the left. And this same mentor was in that space. And we were just doing a workshop with everyone's like idea of what they would like to direct. And I was like, oh, like in the future, I would love to direct this, just talking about my president and what's happening to my country. I would love to be someone to tell the story. And she came up to me at the end of that session, was like, oh, Dave, like, this is what I mean. Like, these are the stories that you should be telling. Like, this is what you should be doing. Like, and I was taken aback by it, because I was like, wow. So who am I meant to be listening to here? I'm trying to get into the industry. I'm trying to make it, but it's like I'm hearing one thing this side and hearing one thing the other side. I'm hearing, you know, a black artist director telling me, Dave, don't box yourself in. You know, I mean, I know you're Zimbabwe and everything, but that's not the only thing you can talk about. And then on this other side, a white mentor was like, Dave, like, listen, you need to tell that story about Zim. And it's like, oh, okay, like, how do I figure this out? And what helps me, this obviously didn't come to me there and then, but as I've done my research and looked into, you know, where I'm from, I've come across this, you know, knowing yourself is really key in these moments, in these tightrope moments. You know, do you have the right to go outside of what looks like isn't your story? As I said to you at the jump of this talk, my great granddad is a European man from Greece. So again, it brings up a problem about who's got the ownership here around storytelling, around culture. Who gives us permission? Who's got the permission? You know, these questions start to come up around this idea of entering the industry. And you know, I come to the knowledge of self because I realized that, do you know what, thinking about my great granddad and why he came to Zim and all the things that happened with my family, that's part of my story. You know, the Western world is part of me, and as it is part of where I'm from. So actually, I have the right to connect to that. I give myself the permission to jump into that story. Yes, on the surface, it may not appear to be something that I would be interested in, but actually I am. You know, and I want to know more about this story and this culture. Obviously, you know, they're obviously seeing, as mentors, they're obviously seeing the industry and going, listen, right now we're lacking diversity. Dave, tell your stories, bro. Go, 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 go. Do you know what I mean? It's not that they're trying to like box me in. But what I'm saying is that tightrope, like how do you navigate it? You know, and how do you navigate it with those who may need your support? And what I say to all, you know, those who were starting out at the age of 18, when I was starting out, just knowing yourself, like dig deep into yourself. What are the connections? Who are you in this? Yeah, maybe that person wants to tell stories that just connect to their culture, but you don't have to do that. You know, see like who's you, who are you? Get that knowledge. Dig deep into yourself and ask, you know, yourself, where do I belong? And answer that for yourself. And no one can answer that for you. And I think this is what, you know, I've come to realize that, do you know what I mean? Everyone's trying to just do their thing. So you trying to look out to other people to say, okay, you talk, no, like take that on board, take it on board, but also process it through who you are and then move from that position. And I just, wanted to share that in the talk today. Okay. One, so we've looked at struggle, we've looked at process, and one is eternal. So here is like my first play. When I left college, you know, I was like, what do I do? I'm gonna go and see what theatre is like. And I went into a young company, got into a young company, we this is our first play, East End Tales, and like here, I look back at this moment and I think about this quote, this proverb from Africa, which says, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, then go together." And I think once we start thinking, okay, but there's so many barriers, do you know what I mean? Like my parents, or the system, or you know, even my self-confidence, go together, you know. And I think this has definitely been something, you know, that I've come to learn, that actually it's not about being the actor, it's not about being the director, it's not about trying to chase that, oh, once I get that accolade. It's like, actually, there's something way more beautiful. It's a system. And there's an issue, and then there's a system. And it's like, actually, I want to go far, man. I actually want to last in this industry. And here, the wisdom just comes from Africa. It's like, it just goes together. You know, and, you know, when I think about Dave, how have you been able to sustain yourself 10 years, you know, in the industry of theatre making, which even to this day, there's issues upon issues upon issues. How have you done it? And when I look back at it, I have to say, do you know what I mean? When I joined this young company, a mentor came to me and he said, listen, Dave, do you want to get into, do you want to come do workshops with me in schools, in primary schools? I'm doing these workshops. I think you could be cool coming in. I was like, all right, do you know what? Let's go. Yeah, I had no idea how to do workshops or whatever, but just pulling me along to that. And then obviously going, wow, this is amazing. I can do this. I can get paid. This is great. And that actually opened up my mind to that. Whoa, actually, acting is amazing, but there's this other world where you get to actually meet people. The audience doesn't just walk away after your work. You've worked, 6 months on this production. Everyone watches it, claps, and walks out the door, doesn't say nothing about the piece. This workshop space is really exciting. And actually what then happened after about 5 years of doing workshops, this one little conversation that I was working with an artist, and they were like, oh, there's this thing coming up where they're giving bursaries to artists to go to South Africa. I was like, oh, wow, okay, what, you think I can do it? She's like, yeah, just apply for it. I was like, okay, cool. Doing that, I ended up going to South Africa for a festival. When I was there, I met someone from the UK that was at the festival. He goes back to the UK, I go back to the UK. And then in Cambridge, at Cambridge Junction, they're like, oh, we need a director. Do you know anyone? He's like, oh, I met some guy in South Africa. You might want to give him an email. And then obviously they emailed me like, oh yeah, so-and-so saw you in South Africa. Do you want to come and apply for this job? To be a resident director for 3 months. Now, the key thing I want to try to highlight here is that I'm not at home killing myself going, damn, where's the opportunity? How do I get in? How do I become an actor? I'm also open that, you know what, I don't need to get there so quick. You know, this is a doorway here, this is a doorway there. Let me just go and see what it's saying. And that's how we sustain is together. You know, and I just love this. I love this proverb because it also it's countercultural as well. You know, countercultural is like in here it's like, you know, you're the star, you get the opportunity, you go, get to the top, you know, be the person. And actually this is like, actually, I surrender that ego and go, actually, are we all getting there? You know, are you getting there? And opening up that view. And I think, you know, when it comes to, you know, the whole financial barrier, there's many issues there. I think one is obviously keeping a circle, keeping people around you that can support you. But also something that I feel I could have learned earlier is that the arts doesn't have to pay me. It doesn't have to pay me. And you know, and I think I would have enjoyed myself a lot better over these 10 years if I wasn't chasing, okay, but I still need to make money from this. Because then you start to choose things that, you know, you're trying to get there quick. But actually choosing things that are actually going to get you far, that also bring you joy. So this is something definitely I wish I, you know, if I told myself something, I would say, bro, it doesn't have to make you money. Do the things that actually bring you the joy and will make you want to do the next thing. So yeah, this thing about decentering myself and actually thinking about the collective and how we move forward I think is something that definitely I want to share with you guys. I know you probably all know this stuff, but hey, we're here to share space. And yeah, in terms of this photo here, I just wanted to share this because when I joined, when I left college, I got an audition to go to audition for Frantic Assembly. And I remember the one act that got me into the company that year was 2009. They were looking for 12 boys to do this production around Ignition. I remember the one act I did where we were like sweating, like, you know, just killing ourselves in the audition process. And through the football that I used to do, obviously you always cheer everyone on, like, come on lads, let's go, let's do this. I just, you know, and somebody just said, just say that, say it. was like, all right, come on, lads, let's do this. Everyone was like, yeah, let's go. And I'll never forget that day because it shifted something, particularly for me because, you know, when they told me, oh, the reason why we really wanted you to come, just your energy in terms of how you were encouraging others. And that was, you know, 10 years ago. And I didn't work with Frantic after that. And then 2 years ago, they were again, like a mentor. We were just like, oh, let's just meet for a coffee. Met for a coffee. He's like, yo, Frantic are looking for people to come and work for them. You should go and apply. And having that experience, you know, 8 years prior, I could use that in the interview and be like, yo, like, you know, I was also an ignition boy. I would love to come on. And through that, you know, they've got me to do direct this photo shoot for the flyers for the next ignition, for the next ignition boys and now girls that can do it. But I just want to connect those dots, that simple action of going, yo, everyone, let's go. 10 years later, you know, I can even direct a flyer, you know, for the damn company, you know, and it's like, you know, this thing about how do we look out constantly, and not aim for being the center. And here, I'm gonna rush through these ones a little bit because I want us to talk, man. I want us to talk. I want us to quiz each other. Any questions you have, you know, me and George are going to be here to really think about this and things that I'm missing. Maybe I'm missing some things as well. I'm not seeing some blind spots. Please challenge everything I'm saying. Here is a production where you know, I saw it was out. They were looking for a director. This is like last year, and yeah, so I apply. I'm like, yo, you know, this is who I am. Again, without that self-knowledge, I can't even write an application because I don't know who I am. But if you work on that, you can then sit down and go, you know, okay, this is what I want to say to these people. And something also that has hit me now recently is that a lot of the time, the opportunity is there, you go for it. Or people write to you and go, you should apply for this. And that for 9 years, at this point, they're like, you know, what do you want to do with this project? And I'm like, what do I want to do with this project? Wait, like, don't you know? You know, and it's like, damn, I need to start thinking what I can offer, what I want to do. How would I do this? So again, this is something that it came late for me, maybe early for some, but I'm just saying it out here. It's like, yeah, also not getting caught in just give me. What do you want to give back? And so I write to them. They're like, brilliant, David. That sounds great. And we heard about you. Excellent. Let's meet. So I'm meeting, thinking I'm going to be, you know, applying for the director role. I get to the meeting. The producers are like, oh, Dave. So basically, because of a money situation, we're going to bring on producers. And these producers are only going to fund this project if they direct it. And I'm like, whoa, snap. Okay. So what are you saying? They're like, oh, would you mind if you assist the director instead of directing? And at that point, what do you do? What are you going to do? If you know, you have to have that knowledge of yourself, the values that you hold, to be able to navigate that situation. And I'm like, do you know what? Let's go, innit? I've already attached myself to this project. Let's not get egotistical about it. Let's go. I didn't feel totally like it was cool what they were doing, but I was like, do you know what? Let's just humble ourselves in this moment and just try and get this project up. Long story short, they promised a lot of people that they were going to do an interview process, like myself, and obviously they made this quick decision to obviously, you know, to go with the producing partners. Then a lot of other people called it out and was like, no, I didn't get a fair opportunity to interview. What the hell's going on? And which meant they had to like bring down the whole process and start the whole process again. And at that point, they call me and go, so David, do you want to apply for the director's role? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what? And I'm like, this is a car crash, you know. But again, you know, you get off the phone and then you go, cool, who am I? You know, what do I think? You know, how can I move forward with this position? And again, I realized that, you know what, they're also learning in their process. And actually, right now, we need to go together. Like, don't take the higher horse and go, F you, do you know what I mean? No, let's go together. Let's, maybe you're needed there to hold on to that actual system to be able for it to come to be. So let's go together. They have slighted you that way, but let's go together. And in the end, obviously, I did it, the interview process, and we went through it, whatever, and they still wanted to go with me. So we're like, all right, let's go. And we did the production. But why I bring this up is that it's so hard in the industry as it is. And then on top of that, you're dealing with this question about, are they treating me this way because I'm black? They're not trusting that I can direct this play. So they want a white director to come and do this because they trust that, he knows what he's doing. All of these things are just swirling around you. And it's like, how do you fight the system? How do you deal with a struggle that is never ending? It comes back to the three. If there's no enemy within, there could be no enemy with outside. The basis of wisdom is the knowledge of self. And if you want to go far, go alone. But if you want to go together, go with. If you want to go far, go together. So again, these are things that I've seen have really helped me in actually being sustainable. They may not help everyone, but I'm just sharing as I can. And, coming back to the enemies, my parents said to me, listen, forget this acting thing you're doing. Forget that. Go, go job center. Come on, you need to be making money. How are you going to survive? These are the deep convos that we're having with our parents, and they don't care. They'll make jokes and say, yeah, like, you still working for free, all of this stuff. But actually, there's something more deeper in there. And this is a moment that I got to go to Japan and teach other facilitators and teachers about inclusive practice for 3 weeks. And it's like, I don't know how I would have got there had I not just had a bit of ignorance and determination to go, maybe I think they're wrong. I think there is another way that we can do this. There is another way we can do this. It doesn't need to be this either or, situation. And, had I listened, I might not have this experience even to talk to you now. So yeah, I want to bring the talk to a close just here. That, it's a big topic, I'm touching upon it in my own weird and wonderful way. I hope you're catching little bits and bobs. George, I wanted to ask you, like, how did you find race impacting you as an artist getting into the arts? How did you find that race? What kind of role do you think it played in you getting into the arts? What would you say?
Yeah, I'll answer this question, and thank you again, Dave, for being so honest. It's not an easy thing to kind of come on a platform and be so transparent. So thank you for that, and please do continue or add questions to the chat if you've got any. But for me, because I'm at this, like I've told you, I'm at the start of my career in a sense. So even though as a young black boy growing up in Essex, I moved here when I was 8, and having a lot of these difficulties and these struggles, and having all of those, and that affecting my identity, and only later on in my life dealing with those, and it's a continuous process, like you did out. It affects my practice because I also have to ask myself, what stories can I tell? Should I be telling? And it's not easy because it is that tension. I am human, and I should be allowed to tell a story which I might have not experienced personally, but there are little facets of that which I can connect to, instead of looking at what a lot of people like to call the black experience, and just going for that and attacking that and doing nothing but that. And I'm going to kind of throw back a question at you. I'm really, and I'm continue to be interested in this notion of a creative license, this passport, which we all have. And I think we should all be grateful for having this, whether you're a writer, a lighting designer, a director, whatever you do within the arts, you have that. And I'm really interested in I won't necessarily call them steps, but I get, yeah, steps that kind of, in a sense, it's like a checklist. What kind of things can I check about myself before I embark on this journey, on this story, which I might have not experienced, but I want to tell? Because you spoke about the process of working in Zimbabwe and actually getting kids from Zimbabwe, right? And getting them involved in that process. Is that something we have to, you know, mirror, whether being a Black man and looking at a story from, let's say, Nigeria or Ghana, or even, let's say, someone who is white or Asian looking at a story which is outside of their culture? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, yeah, say, for example, you're outside of culture, directly speaking, do you have the right to engage with that story as an artist? Do you have the right to pick up the pen, get in a studio and make it work and say something about that particular culture? Oh man. So I remember a partner, colleague of mine actually came to me and was like, Dave, we're going to give you space and time, and we're going to write a play about the Windrush. And I was like, oh snap, I'm all about Zim. And then I was like, what, how can I, who is not Caribbean, and that's within that facet, not even like, jumping across, continents, or heritage in that way, just within that nuance, I felt like, am I the right person to tell this story about the Windrush? Really? And instantly I had to ask why, and dig deep for that. And without finding a concrete why as to it can be me, or even it should be me, like I could never do that justice. I could never do it justice. And then when I dug into the history of the Windrush, I realized that if the Windrush, that generation, those are Caribbeans who came from the Caribbean island and migrated. So already just that migration, I go, damn, we migrated from Zim. So then the first process I say is why, and start pulling down those reasons. And then, I think from that place, you then start talking to people who come from that culture, and connecting and trying to get more insight into it. Maybe even involving them in the process as well, in the process of how you approach that work, is my first step. Outside of that, obviously you have your skills, you have your talents, you start to build upon that. I find it really fascinating, like, as someone who writes, like, how do you decide that, okay, like, say for example, a theatre came up to you and said, George, write what you want to write. Like, how will you know what to write about, or what, like, how do you come to that decision? Okay, I'm telling this story when there's so many that you could tell.
Again, I think that's a huge tightrope thing, isn't it? It's a struggle. It's a struggle of what stories should I tell, and if I mentioned to you when we were chatting, I just finished a commission, and the topic of the scripts I wrote was about Black Lives Matter. And I'll be honest, at first when I received the commission, I was like, I hadn't gone, like, for personal reasons, I wasn't able to go on the protests. I wasn't able to go on the march. So there was that, and I haven't actually shared this with anyone, there was that internal struggle where I was like, yes, I'm Black. Yes, I've experienced this, but, I haven't gone on these march, and because the story revolves around this young Black woman whose friends essentially revealed their own personal agendas, but it was centered around the march being on her birthday and which one they decide to go. And it was that internal struggle of, can I tell this story, even though, as a Black man, I haven't gone out and been, as I've been vocal, but I haven't been vocal to maybe a certain kind of extent I've seen with other peers and friends. So I was even dealing with that. And I think that's the complexity and complexity about race. I'm just gonna, there are some wonderful questions coming in. So I just wanted to ask you, David, quickly, a question about developing your positive mental attitude towards the industry, because we know it's exhausting. It's exhausting, it's tiring. We were talking yesterday about, and even as a teacher, I find myself having to do this a lot. It's almost like a certain part of you is having to educate someone about your race, and it's a heavy burden. It's an extremely heavy burden. And this question was about how you developed your, how you develop your positive mental attitude towards the industry, against this, obvious discrimination, prejudice. Did you feel like you had to fight even harder? And you did mention that the fight is continuing, the process is continuing, but have you got any kind of practical steps about developing that positive attitude?
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, I really want to pick up on this point of, do you feel that you have to fight even harder? And I think subconsciously, I think you do feel that. You do feel that harder is very subjective though. What's your level of hard? Do you get what I'm saying? Is very subjective. Like when I came to this country, my mom was like, you were a machine, you could just do loads of stuff. And now you're very lazy and you don't like, I'm like, you're acculturated, you know what I mean? Like, we take it a bit easy over here. But what's your even idea of what is harder? What I would say is, when I worked with the lady who actually gave me the Windrush project, something she did which I found was so fascinating, a Caribbean lady, she said to me, David, listen, we're going to start this project, okay? And it's going to be organic. Wherever we're going to get to, we're going to get to. And that's going to be the right place for us to get to it. And I found this so freeing that, oh my gosh, she's already thinking about, she's taken away that fear of like, damn, I'm going to fail this if I don't give this level of expectation. And she's like, listen, I believe in you and I believe in your process and where you need to get to. And so taking that idea is just having more compassion for yourself. The journey is freaking long. And I'm not talking about, in terms of the racial aspects of the journey, just the arts, man. It's so hard, as we all know. So that compassion level is very, very important. You have another day. You have another day to try it. I can't count the amount of projects where I've gone, oh my God, that was terrible. That was absolutely bombastic. And actually going, do you know what? So I have tomorrow. I can come at it again and I can get better. And I've only, seen some parts of my process where I've gone, damn, that's much better now, as opposed to prior. So it's about compassion level. And the only way to get more compassion is it's about who you keep around you. It's about who you're listening to, what you're allowing to go into your ears and into your heart. Those people need to be solid. You need to check those people. In terms of what I would say is being around people that inspire you. The person that is there to inspire you, they flipping exist. I'm gonna say this right now. I didn't know they existed, but they exist. The people that you're thinking, man, if I could just be around this kind of person, these kind of actors, these kind of creatives, they flipping exist. You know what I mean? Just keep asking questions, keep seeking, and they're gonna find you. But that's important. Who you keep around you, who you wake up and go, damn, I'm having a bad time. I need advice. What do you think? Really check those people. It's very important. Those people tend to be much older than me. So that's maybe there's something there, is having that the person is much older with a bit more experience. It doesn't harm. The amount of people I've said to them, can you mentor me? And they've gone, I don't really feel I should be your mentor, but I'm happy to chat to you. All of those attempts have led to finally 2 or 3 people who I can flip and trust, just as people, not even as artists, as people. I can trust them with any question I might have. Something that I find really incredible as well, last thing I'll say, is how you deal with your mornings. And you know, my version is very wanky and blah 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 blah. But you find your version. Do you know what I mean? But freaking hell, like, and this is someone that told me, he was like, "Oh, Dave, like, I know you like movement and stuff. Why don't you do yoga in the mornings?" And I was like, "Okay, this is coming from a dancer, so I'm gonna try that out." And yoga and like, yeah, just hearing positive messages in the morning allows me to go, I can take this day on. And I think something in terms of the failure part of the industry is really interesting. When you fail at something, the way you deal with failure is really important.
Yeah.
You really have to check that. Fam, I wish I could say how I deal with failure, but you know, like I said, that lady that was like, no, where you got to is where you needed to get to, and what you needed to learn is what you needed to learn. That it's really important for you to fail in that way, and you should be drawn to seek the feedback. Like the other day, my friend was like, I didn't like your play. Like, this is a friend. He's like, I saw it, you know, I didn't like it. And obviously my soul was bruised, but I was like, you know what, amazing. I was like, fam, thank you for that honest feedback. Like, thank you. Like, I thanked her for it. I was crying inside. I was like, thank you so much. Like, and I took that away from the call, and I was like, okay, cool, that's the indicator. There's work I got to do. Either reading or putting myself in the room more to perfect what I want to do. So seek that feedback. Never run away from feedback. Run towards it, but use it as ammunition. It may sting you, but I'm telling you, when you get up and you look at it, I'm sure you can do something with it and use it for. So it's like keeping a balance. Keep someone who challenges you, who even scares you as a creative. Like, damn, can I be around this person? They're so like on that level. Get around that person. Do you know what I mean? But you know, so don't always surround yourself with just yes people. Surround yourself with people who will actually tell you about yourself as well. But also they'll be able to put that compassion into you. There's three things. There's people that are confidants, and there's people that are constituents, and people that are comrades.
Yeah, take notes, people. That's good. That's knowledge.
Yeah,
that's a gem.
Your confidants. If you have one person that is your confidant in your lifetime, you are G. That you can trust. So it's not even, it's like one person, you know. And then your constituents are people who are for what you're for, and they're for what you're for until they find someone else who can get them quicker to what you're both for. They'll drop you. So you know, again, at that point, you don't, you know, when my friend said I didn't like your play, I was like, okay, cool. Constituent / confidant, like they got that confidant like credibility. But obviously they could have said it in a nicer way. Do you know what I'm saying? They just come out with it and was like, I didn't like it. So I go, okay, cool. I don't need to judge this person. They don't need to look after my feelings. This is a constituent. Do you know what I mean? Let me just play it. Then your comrades are people who will fight against what you're against. So, you know, I've noticed people try and pull me into projects, be like, oh, come and do this, da 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 da. And then all of a sudden they're gone. And you're like, wait, like I thought we were, do you know what? So again, when you start to see and read who's who, again, this allows you to also guard your heart around the process when it's really tough. When you know someone that, you know, a teacher, a mentor, an artistic leader that says something to you, you just go, all right, cool. You're a comrade. You know, you're about yourself, and you want to get your chin up, so you want to put me down. Like no leader should do that. So it's these are some of the things.
Got a fantastic question here from Miranda, and I say it's fantastic because I'm at the point where I'm even like battling with it in my head. So she says, do you think that every play written by / directed by / starring Black people should be political? And I even want to ask / like slave narrative, because that's also a huge thing, not just in the film industry, but also theatre. Does it have to be about, you know, the struggle? Does it have to be about the politics? You know, what do you think, and how can you know, especially you know, artists make sure that this next canon of work is, you know, accurately representing what we want to see, you know?
I love this question, and I think it's something that I've started to start the journey of going, you know, I need to see myself in as many ways as possible. You know, I don't need to be political, but I can be. I don't need to be political, but what I'm doing can be political, or I can be political and it doesn't need to be political. It's like as many ways as you can see yourself, the view, the prism of you, as many ways as possible. I've loved the fact that my parents they have no idea what the arts is about. Like, I could win anything and they'll be like, how comes you haven't called us? Like, where are you? Like, they wouldn't care about it unless they obviously found out about it. But so it's like keeping that groundness. Like, you know, if they want to do something political, hella yes, but they don't need to do something political. And also you'll find people like different kinds of theatre. Some people hate political theatre. Do you know what I mean? They don't want to see nothing to do with political theatre, like, or things that are like overtly out there. And some people do, they love that stuff. And you have to go, where do I sit in that? You know, where do I sit in that? Do I, you know, and why do I sit in that? And am I being predictable by going in that direction? I love what George was saying. It's like, well, I didn't even go to the march. So like, how do I look at this situation? You know, so I always think when you get something, or when we're talking about should it be political, it's about looking at yourself in a multiple of angles, in a multiple of ways.
Just to add, sorry, David, just to add to that as well, because, and feel free, anyone, if you want to jump in, because I can't remember how,
and jump in.
Yeah, I can't remember how long ago it was. But, me and Danielle had a chat, and we were just chatting about work we'd love to see, and I just mentioned it, you know, because I'm yet to see, you know, especially in the film industry, like seeing two black people fall in love in Essex.
That's political.
I'm yet to see that. I want to see that because it's true. It happens. You know what I mean? And again, I keep on saying the word facets, and I think it's this kind of gem which we're kind of hitting at. And even though including this talk, it's scratching the surface of one of the facets, because every black person's experience is so different, so unique. And they are the only one who can tell that story, that experience. And I kind of go back to, you know, the reason why I got in the arts, and it was me seeing Idris Elba on TV in Luther and being like, "Oh,
he's just a detective."
Yeah, but it was a fact of seeing someone black, because I hadn't, apart from watching Nollywood, I hadn't seen anyone, you know, black on the BBC. In a lead role. And this was in 2016. And of course, I'm sure there were I'm not even going to mention the lack of representation in it, but I'm sure there was stuff out there, but it wasn't accessible to me. And I really appreciated that. And, you know, in my very short journey, I'm here now because I got to see that. And I feel like as artists, no matter what color, what creed, I feel like we need to, it's a responsibility, the stories we put out there. I think no matter who sees it, it's still a responsibility. And I think we shouldn't underestimate that weight, because it's a weight which, okay, it's heavy, but it's a weight which, when we were talking about this kind of, when your curiosity as an artist, you know, loses itself and it decreases, because I feel like a lot of people see empathy as a sticker. Empathy, how I describe it, is this living organism which grows. You feed it. You should be feeding it. And if you don't feed it, it will fade away, and your curiosity about someone else or a story will just become very stale, very offensive, because you're not opening yourself up to it. And I kind of gone on a rant, and I forgot where I'm ending. But yeah, jump in there.
In terms of empathy, and thank you, Miranda, as well, and Hiver as well, jumping in with some points as well. But I think, thinking back to Kwame True, who said, like, there's a difference between issues and systems, and we want to get to the system. Do you get what I'm saying? And what you said to Miranda about, like, well, you know, there's a view that, oh, this work isn't political, you know, it's just about two people, and then when you see the same dynamic with, just say it's a black couple or just two black people, and there's nothing political going on, you're like, what's happening? You know, it's like, that's why we got to look at the systems. And when we look at system, it goes into something that's bigger, and it's about the fabric of who we are and why we connect in the way that we do, and going and looking at it in a complex way, that even two black people standing there not doing something overtly political has a lot of fascinating things going on, equally as, say, two non-black people, or any other, you know, creed or ethnicity or way of categorizing particular people. Is like in every single facet, if we're looking at the system level, not just the issue, we see something complex, beautiful, that is political, but also is connected to just basic things like love and all the wonderful things that we love getting into theatre for. There's another question.
I've got one come in, and it's also a really good question. It's about so you talk about an ongoing journey, but what kind of change and action would you hope to see in the wider industry over the next few years?
Over the next few years,
yeah. So what kind of changes or what kind of steps? I mean, this is a great one. This is a great step of an ongoing dialogue, yes. Ongoing conversations, you know, about race, you know, about experiences.
I think for me is you know, this real. I think the biggest issue that I feel is at the problem of race is that, you know, speaking honestly now, is like, I feel, you know, black people have to explain why, you know, why things don't work or why things are negative or why there's these barriers. We have to explain that. It's on us to explain it. And then on top of that, it's on us to give solutions. That's already there's an issue there. It's already problematic. Why am I having to explain? Why are you not, the way I'm seeking to know who the hell I am, why are you not going, what the hell, why did we do that? Why the hell did we do that? Let's go back and look at this. Let's tell those stories. That should be coming from the top. BBC should be shouting, screaming from the tops. We need to tell these stories. This is what we're doing, screaming from the hills. We're gonna fix this, we're gonna solve that. Why is it that we need to explain it? So I think this is one of the biggest issues, is that actually we start to see that the leaders are, you know, are taking ownership and going, I have this privilege, I want to give it up. I want to expose this privilege. I want to deconstruct this privilege. I want everyone at the table. Leaders doing that. That's what I want to see. You know what I mean? I don't want to be explaining nothing. That's what I want to be in a place of, oh, snap, okay, that's good. You're clocking that. That's dope. Yeah, like, you know, what do you want to do about it? You know, I think, you know, because I go and seek it myself. I go and seek what the issues were. Why did I have to come to this country? Why wasn't there enough wealth and prosperity in Zim for us to live there? Why was I illegal in this country for 7 years and I couldn't go to university? I'm asking those questions, you know, but at the top, are they asking themselves like how things are working? They need to, and we all need to be asking those questions. So I would just love to see a much more aware industry, a much more aware society, where the ones that are in power come out of the woodworks and start to go, we're not moving this thing until we get equality, until we get people at this table. We're not moving. No theatre is going on until we solve this issue. That, I'm like, okay, we got something going on there. Like BBC coming out and saying, we're not producing no work until, like these things, that actually is the system. It's not the issues. Just like, oh yeah, let's just get more black people on TV. No, but what about the people that actually write the scripts? Are the technicians, the lighting designers, the dramaturgs? What about those people? It's all the same people. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, It's not just, you know, look, we're showing you black films, black music, No, the whole system, the whole system. So that's the change I would love to see. Yeah.
I'm aware, thank you, David. I'm aware that we have, 5 minutes. Does anyone want to share anything? Because
thoughts, takeaways, provocations. It's a continual dialogue. So
I just want to say, sorry, to just like quickly jump in. But no, like this has been so amazing. And I feel like in being transparent about sometimes the burden you feel as a Black artist about writing a Black play and writing just a play about any like a colourless play, if you like, is something that I struggle with a lot. And I also feel like it is like George was talking about how we are responsible of the narratives that we're telling, which is important, but I also feel like there has to be healthy boundaries, in that weight is not so much on our shoulders that to a point where it's unhealthy, where it's like we feel like we have to be Martin Luther King in every room.
Wow.
Like it's a bit like sometimes we just want to breathe and want to get through the day, you know. So but I love the point about having that responsibility, but also, you know, thinking back about how we can make healthy boundaries so that we're not we don't have to walk into the room and articulate ourselves like we're world leaders when we're not.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
yeah.
That's dope. And I just want to jump on what you're saying there in terms of like, Esther, about, you know, you're talking about something where it's like personally, you know, how can I, you know, just, breathe and be a human. And that's why I went with the internal, like we have agency over ourselves. That's the best we can do. You know, whatever we want to write, let's write that thing. Do you know what I mean? And if people want to say, well, shouldn't you? It's like, that ain't, you know, I'm just trying to be a human right now. But, you know, that those things will come, but that, you know, you relieving yourself of that enemy and just going, you know, we're all in this together. It's all our problem. So, you know, this is my contribution. What do you say? I feel it's beautiful.
Yeah, great. Anyone else? Any leaving kind of things that anyone's taken from it or would like to say?
I should say as a general point as well, David, I really, really loved if you're going far, go together. And this idea, especially, you know, this scheme is aimed mostly at young creators as well. And often it seems like all the you're supposed to have made it at like 25, and there's a pressure when you're a young artist to sort of really, really rush and get out there. And if you're not, you know, the years stack up. And if you haven't made yourself, are you going to? And that idea of pacing yourself and finding yourself as an artist, I think is such an important lesson to put out there as well. Especially when there might be other pressures about, like, you know, as you say, pressures about trying to make it money-wise, otherwise it's not worth it. And I think that was really, really great advice. And I also wonder if you have any sort of like mini practical ideas for like how a young artist listening to this might be able to go, how can they like help them pace themselves as opposed to like trying to exhaust themselves.
Yeah, it's about what's transferable as well. I think, you know, something that helped me was like when I did the workshops, you know, helping out with workshops and stuff like that, it felt like, oh, I'm not really being an actor, but actually I was, you know, it was a different kind of stage. So seeing how my ambition is still being served in a different environment. It's cool, you know, the workshops, and then I was like, but the workshops connect to acting, then the acting connects to, no, the workshops connect to directing. It's just I'm not directing a stage, but I'm still facilitating space, and then allowing what you see to be on a multiple level. That just creating that presence of mind, you know, and practically one thing is like, this industry is built on conversation like this and networking. Please, I know I hate networking, bro, but please, like, speak to people. The amount of times I've just said hi to someone and then I get an email, and I'm just like, what? Like, how is this? How did that? So please, like, you know, just speak to people. Always, you know, say hi and stuff like that. In terms of like the whole promoting thing and always being, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I kind of find that very difficult. So I don't really do that. But what I have done, even unbeknownst to myself, is always like, oh, yeah, let's meet and let's talk, and things can and pass like that. So a conversation, even if they don't give you nothing, you always gain something from the connection. So that's something I always say, is just, as much as I know we hate it, yeah, just go. One thing I did one time, I got a job because I looked on Eventbrite and I looked at all talks that were around theatre, and I just went to all of them. These free talks, and then there's one random talk. There was someone there from a theatre, and she was like, "Oh yeah, like I can't offer you no work, but come in and let's have a talk. And then literally that was, I volunteered for some time, and then yeah, obviously the rest is history. But just going, fam, I'm just gonna go, to these lectures and these talks. You can't get found if you're not there to be found. I don't know. It's, yeah, please get yourself out there, talk to people as much as possible. I would say.
Awesome. The time has literally just hit 8:30. Did anyone want to add anything, or no? Oh yeah, yeah. Yes. Go and have a.
I just want to say thank you for giving up your time to talk to all of us, and I'm really enjoying being part of these kinds of conversations. And I completely understand what you're saying about how you feel like you're burdened with having to explain yourself and stuff like that. And I realise that like people, like white people and within the industry, really need to take it upon themselves to educate ourselves and just be more present and aware of everything going on around us. And yeah, so I just really wanted to thank you for actually just giving up your time to talk about yourself and everything that you've been through. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure. I'm going to quickly plug, unless Heather, you wanted to do it, the next session.
Danielle wants to say something.
Oh, Danielle, sorry, Danielle, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for this chat, and I'm so pleased that these conversations are still happening. And for me, recently, this has been a really amazing chat, because I think as artists in general, but specifically as artists of colour and Black people, it's like, what story do we want to put out there, and what do we want to tell, and how we want to be represented? And I think there's been a lot of that's been happening in the world at the moment that's influenced me as an actor, that is like, what am I actually telling? What story do I want to leave? So if there's like that young person that watches this show, are they going to leave and be like, yeah, that's inspired me, and it's a different sort of image of me that I usually see? So I know you probably didn't even realise you were saying that with everything you were saying, David, but it was like helping me navigate that part of my creativity in myself about what mark I want to leave. And I think, yeah, I just wanted to share that, and thank you for being open, and yeah, blah. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Wow. Yeah, it's mad. Yeah, definitely. Appreciate everyone just being open and listening. And I think what George said, like, this is just a way to start convo. So yeah, I'm definitely going to come to the next talks and jump in with the questions as well. So yeah, like, I think, yeah, something is like, how a key question is, whatever momentum we get from this talk, how can we add more momentum to it? And something I don't always think about is I go, oh, I feel inspired, I watch a show, oh yeah. And then it's like the next day I'm like, oh man. So it's like already thinking, how can I add momentum to this? Danielle was like, okay, cool, my show, I'm gonna start maybe thinking about some show ideas. Just always be that question is always good. And things always come like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna talk to my friends or whatever. So always thinking, how can I add momentum to this? Either after an interview, show, that question is key. So you're ready for the dip. You've already got something to do. But yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much, David, for again, bringing your wisdom, and thank you everyone for coming along, sharing this space. I really do hope you've learned something, you've been challenged, because I've learned something, I've been challenged, and and again, talking about this as a continuous dialogue. This again is something which we'll look back at, and we'll be glad that we had this conversation. We'll be proud of how the industry is changing, because each one of us are able to kind of go forth and untangling whatever biases we may have of any color, of any creed, and allowing the industry to change because of that. I'm just going to hand over to Heather quickly. As I said at the start, this is a project, and we have 2 more sessions, and we got one next week. So Heather, did you just want to quickly plug it for everyone?
Yeah, so next week, next Wednesday at 7 p.m. again, we have Kelly Jones, who is a local Essex writer and theatre creator, talking all things sexuality, her experiences, and she'll be doing some sort of like exercises and talks about her work and stuff. So come along. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Great. So I'm going to say goodbye to everyone and thank you again for coming. Lots of love and enjoy the rest of your day. All right. See you later. Bye.